If you're making burgers at home, it's great if you can make your own. If you don't have time, these portion-wide burgers are a great choice, especially if you have people in your household that like to have more than one. Because if they're going to have 2 bigger burgers, they're probably still going to only have 2 of these smaller burgers. And 2 of these is like one, the size of one of kind of a regular burger. So those are a great choice. But again, if you can make them on your own, that's wonderful. If you can mix together extra lean ground beef with extra lean ground chicken or turkey and make your burgers, then you're cutting down on that saturated fat a little bit. If you are going to have straight beef, like as a steak, a beef tenderloin, or an eye of round cut are your 2 best cuts. And when we think about portion size, we think about decks of cards. And for women, it's ideal we have 1 deck of card at one time, and for men, 2 decks of cards at one time. And the reason for that is because the kidneys actually have to process the protein that we take in, and ideally we balance our protein appropriately throughout the day. And when I say women and men, I'm speaking of the average, women or male. When we look at athletes, of course, those numbers do change. When we're looking at kind of the average public, that's the amount that we're looking at, especially when it comes to beef. If you're looking at chicken or turkey or fish, you can handle those little bit bigger portion sizes. When we're looking at beef, we want to be a little bit stricter because of the fact that it has the saturated fat in there, and we want to guard our cholesterol levels. If that doesn't fill you up, no problem. A couple different things you can do with a nice piece of beef tenderloin to make it more satisfying. One is if you enjoy mushrooms and onions, you can saute mushrooms and onions in some white or some red wine or a little bit of water. We'll also cook them just fine and add a little bit of spice and put them over, and it gives you the texture of the beef, so you have the flavor of the beef because it's really there, but you have extra of the texture around it. So that's an option. Another option is to cook up some scallops or some shrimp. So add a little bit of extra lean protein to the side of your beef tenderloin. And if you're out to eat, getting a smaller piece of beef with some added shrimps on the side can be a great choice. Add your vegetables, a small bit of a healthy starch, and you can have that healthy dinner that still tastes good. Are you glad you asked?
I'm really athletic. So
You need the beef.
Other questions?
For Noelle? I'm trying to do low sodium because my blood pressure is borderline.
Yes.
My God, I started looking at them. I love soup. Wow, like 37% of the daily sodium intake are the least I could find. Even the low sodium ones is 25%.
It's very
I'm not
high.
eating it anymore, but any ideas on that? Like, what is that blue
Yeah.
that you showed us?
So this is the only one on the market that is really, really low sodium. It's 140 milligrams, but in a cup. So this whole thing is a little over 2 cups. Tricky on the portion size, right? But yes, it's quite low. They heighten the potassium. So basically it's okay for anyone who's not concerned in terms of potassium. This exact flavor, yeah. All of the blue menu ones are lower in sodium than another brand. They've done a great job with their sodium levels. But this is the tomato and roasted red pepper. And a great thing to do with this is to actually use it as a base. So you can heat it up and maybe add in some extra vegetables, maybe some white beans or leftover chicken from last night's dinner or baby shrimp, anything like that. And it will serve 2 or 3 people when you take this and you kind of grow it by adding extra options. It's great at work though for a quick lunch. You can peel back that lid. I work with my mom, and so often we'll split a can of this and have a salad with cottage cheese and then maybe a piece of toast or something like that. So you can, create a meal from the base of this. In terms of outside of that, one of the things you can use, I apologize, I didn't bring the can with me, but they have the blue menu again. I apologize, I'm not promoting them because of them. It's just that they've done a great job in terms of the low sodium. They only have 5 milligrams of sodium in a half a cup of their diced tomatoes. Normally diced tomatoes have 500 milligrams. So 5 milligrams versus 500. So you can use that as a base for a spaghetti sauce or for a soup as you're describing. Throw other vegetables in there, some beans, tomato paste and a bit of water, and you have a nice bean and vegetable stew. Just add some crackers or a piece of bread, and you have a really healthy lunch or dinner that you've cooked once and you can enjoy several times. You can freeze it in 1 or 2 cup portions. It is very difficult to watch your sodium and enjoy soup outside of that. If you have the opportunity on a Saturday or a Sunday, or if another day of the week is your slower day, if you do have a slower day, then you could cook a chicken and then leave some meat on the bones. And go ahead and put the bones in a nice big pot with water and just let it boil for a while. Use that as your base, and that'll be a lower sodium. If you prefer to have a vegetarian base, then your best bet is those low sodium diced tomatoes or to use this soup.
You mentioned processed meats. Is there any other food that you would recommend that everyone stay away from, aside from the obvious chips and things like that, but anything that a lot of people eat that we may not be aware of?
The other element, and you're probably aware of this, is the idea of aspartame. Splenda is quite safe. It's a derivative of sugar. The only negative side effect we see is that some people have a little bit of bloating and sometimes they'll get a headache, but we're not worried in terms of cancer as of the research that comes out yet. Of course, anything can change with research, but this is what we know at this point. Aspartame, on the other hand, we know has a very, very negative impact on the body. And we know that in our environment, we have a ton of contaminants. Right? We know that there are a ton of risk factors for getting cancer. And my opinion is that we want to eliminate those that we can, because there's some that we can't necessarily do anything about. So when it comes to the nitrates and the aspartame, those are ones to try to stay away from. If you do enjoy having a Diet Pop, the Crush line has Splenda in it. So Diet Cream Soda, Diet Orange Crush, Diet Root Beer, Diet Dr. Pepper, they all have Splenda. And if you go into the States, you can find Diet Coke with Splenda as well. And those are a better choice if you were going to consume a Diet Pop. I'm not recommending it, I'm just saying, if you were going to.
So sucralose, Splenda?
Yes. Splenda is the brand name, just like Equal is of aspartame, for example. Yeah, Splenda is the brand name of sucralose. In terms of waters, sometimes people like to use the flavor packets. Nestea has Splenda in it. Another great thing you can do with water is you can buy a jug to store in your fridge, throw some frozen strawberries or blueberries in the bottom of it, and fill it with water. And as those berries melt, the flavor comes out. And so you have naturally flavored water instead of adding the flavor packets. Kids will drink it instead of juice as well. It becomes, especially with the strawberries, it becomes really rich in flavor. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. I do have handouts for you, and I have my own private practice, so anytime you'd like to come in alone or with your families, I'd love to meet with any one of you, and appreciate you missing the first part of the hockey game.
Well, Noelle, on behalf of the Y, I'd like to thank you for coming in.
No
It was
problem.
fabulous.
Thank you very much.